Hello and welcome back to another episode of It's Risky Business, a show about pursuing your passion, taking risks, and doing the things that you want to do in life. It's all coming back to me.
Yeah, it's
because it's been a while since we've been in here, so I just didn't even remember how to do this intro. But we're back, baby. And we're talking about side hustles and main hustles. We're talking about vulnerability.
Yes, we are.
Because that's what we're doing nowadays.
Yes.
And we are here in the studio with my lovely co-host, Amanda Hulka.
Thank you. Happy to be back.
Yes.
Here with my director extraordinaire of hosts, Sten Garcia.
Oh, thank you. Muchas gracias. And we are super excited to welcome to the show, Natalia. Welcome, Natalia.
Welcome.
And what I love about what's going to happen in this episode is that we are often talking about people who are turning their side hustles into their main hustles and the whole transition, right? A lot of people simply don't think that they have enough time to pursue a side hustle while they have a full-time job.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we have people that maybe have already made the transition and have seen some successes, but I don't think that we've had somebody that's like in the middle of it, that's actually doing a side hustle, like a full-blown side hustle business, and also working in corporate America. So this is a big reason why we're excited to have you on the show to talk about your entrepreneurial journey. And just tell us about what your business is, why you feel so passionate about it, and how and what it's like to run a business and also be working in corporate America.
Okay, so thank you for having me. I'm really excited. My business is called Adventuresque Travel Boutique. It's kind of hard when people read it on paper. They're like, Adventuresque. I'm like, no. It is a mixture of adventure and picturesque. I kind of blended those two together. It came from now, at the time it hadn't been, but now it's been a decade of me traveling the world. Wow. I've been a flight attendant for 2 major airlines for 10 years now, which makes me feel very old. But I decided, because I did all these trips on my own. I did a solo trip to Croatia and I had people reaching out and saying, hey, how do you do this? And somebody said, maybe you should start charging for your services. So that kind of lit a fire up under my ass, as we say. And COVID hit, right?
Yeah.
Airlines had to let go of a lot of people. They let go of 8,000 flight attendants at my airline.
Gosh.
And I said, what am I going to do? I've been out of college for 10 years now. I don't feel marketable anymore. I was getting turned away from a lot of jobs that I had held previously in the marketing world. And so I said, hey, let's do this. I don't have a job. Let's just take this undertaking. And I started Adventurous Travel Boutique. She's my baby.
And so just to get an idea of the timeline. So you already were considering starting your own travel boutique company before the pandemic, but then the pandemic was ultimately like the catalyst. To be like, hey, do this thing.
You're so scared, right? You're like, how am I going to do this? I'm so busy. Just exactly what you said, right? Now, all of a sudden, I'm not busy. I lost my job.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find jobs and nobody wants me. And I know something that I'm very good at. And I said, hey, I was still getting paid by the airline because we got what is essentially called like severance pay, or I don't know, it's weird, but... And so with that money, I put it all into Adventuresque. I said, let me do this investment.
Love that.
That's so good.
And so I'm 6 months in. I'm obviously not getting a lot of business because it's the end of 2020, the beginning of 2021. Everybody's like still not traveling. But I saw it. I said, there's a boom coming. And I know people are dying to get out there.
Yeah.
So I kept putting my time into it. And then the airline calls me back. I say, oh my God, right? And I said, I feel like it would be a good idea to go back, obviously, because eventually this severance pay is going to end and I still need money and I'm not making money with Adventuresque yet. So I went back in the hopes of flying minimal time and then continuing Adventuresque as my full-time endeavor, right? So eventually my flight attendant job would become my part-time job. And it has not been that way.
Yeah.
It's been very hard because airlines are back.
Yeah.
Travel is back. And as much as I try to make it a part-time job, when they need you, they need you. And it's been a struggle. Like you said, it's peaks and valleys.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to talk about that journey and kind of like what's been happening with that.
Yeah. Well, and you're in the thick of it, which I think is a lot of people's stories, because a lot of people started something new during the pandemic where they had a lot of time, and then life kind of started back up. New opportunities came and just things started flying at them. And you particularly so, because you're in travel, and travel just, it's
Exploded.
like wildfire. Like everyone I know is just hungry to travel and get out there. So I think it is a really interesting time for you that you now get to kind of see everything that you're handed and all the opportunities that you have and just design it the way that you want it. But you are definitely in the thick of it.
What I think is really interesting about the decision that you had to make ultimately when you get called back, right, to work at the airline. You're excited about starting your own business and getting things going, but I think that we also have to kind of like be realistic in certain situations. I mean, I feel like the difference between me and my decision making a lot of times is that I'm very whimsical. I'm very like, everything's gonna be great. Let's do this, And had it been me in the airline calls me, I would have been like, no. But then forget it, and there's been many times post pandemic where I turned some jobs down that I don't want because I want to work on all of these things that I'm passionate about, like a podcast, like a nonprofit, and all of these things. But facts are facts. You need to pay your bills and you need to take some of this work. So I think that it's interesting that you knew that you had to take this job, but ultimately you didn't let go of still pursuing your own business, because I see you posting all of these videos and this content, and that takes time. It takes a lot of effort to put together all of this content, and I see it. And ultimately, even though, and this is, I think, something that's very, very important for anybody that's starting a side hustle. Like, even though you don't have a ton of clients and maybe a lot of the money's not coming in, if you're working on developing your brand, which is what you're doing with your content, it's added value, and it's still worth something in the long run, and ultimately building up the image of what your business is. So that's why it's important not to give up on it and make the time. And that's why we call it a side hustle, because it's something that you do on the side, on the side, and it is a hustle, right? At the same time.
It's definitely a hustle. And that's something that when I first started putting things on social media, I follow this this account that I really love her content. She helps travel professionals, and she said, so you want immediate results, and that's never ever the case. Like, people don't know you, right? If you give somebody a brand like Gap or an unknown brand, they're gonna say, well, I know Gap. I've seen Gap. They've developed their brand. And that's been, for me, the hardest part, right? Because before I had clients, I was going hard. I was investing all of my time on making videos, on making reels, on things that I wasn't comfortable with, because when somebody goes to not only my webpage, but my social media content, I want them to see what I know and what I can do for them.
Yes.
Before they even put money down to have me plan a trip for them, right? And that to me was the hardest thing. And somebody said one day it's going to click and it's going to be just like you going downhill on a roller coaster. And that's where I'm at right now. All of that, a year plus of social media content.
Wow.
I'm getting like a new booking every week.
Oh my gosh.
And
so instead of going downhill on a roller coaster, you're going uphill.
I mean, no, yes. I just feel like downhill, like when it's like you built the momentum and then now you're experiencing
riding.
You're
riding it. Okay.
So it's just, it's very overwhelming, because at the same time, what happens with airlines in the summer? You have to fly. Wow. You have to be out there. You have to, look at what just happened on Memorial Day weekend, right? Thousands of cancellations, which if you're in a business and you have a consultation on so-and-so time, and all of a sudden you're like, I can't because my flight got canceled and I'm not in the country yet. That's where I'm having, I think, the hardest part. To me, my business is number one. The airline is still secondary. That is secondary. And I have to never let my clients down, because they're paying a lot of money for me to deliver a good product. Right? And I don't want to be like, hey, sorry, can't do it. I have to go fly now.
Yeah. So speaking about that specific situation on Memorial Day, were you flying and you had to deal with clients?
So thankfully, I was not flying.
Okay.
I was able to what we call drop my trips weeks in advance, right? And I said, wow, I have Memorial Day weekend off.
Oh.
But what happens? My clients were flying.
Oh.
And it was a mess. Newark was a mess. Some of them were going to Portugal from Newark. I'm up until 2 a.m. checking on their flights, calling their hotels in Portugal. Hey, they're going to be a little late.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, the person who's going to pick them up from the airport, I need you. Hey, their flight is delayed. Making sure that when they get there, they're not just abandoned.
Yeah.
So in a way, I'm like, thank God I wasn't working.
You were on the ground and able to
do all of that. But if I'm on a plane, I'm out of commission.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And can we ask how many hours you fly?
So, and like you said, we still have to pay bills, right? So when I first started Adventurous, Miami was still somewhat affordable. I could fly what we say 40 hours, which people are going to look at me and say 40 hours. I do that in a week. 40 hours is the time that I'm on a plane with that door closed.
Oh.
That doesn't count the time I'm driving to the airport, at hotels,
Oh my
away.
gosh.
It's just what I'm on the plane. That is the minimum.
Oh, wow.
To pay my bills, to pay the rent and everything that's going up in Miami, I right now have to fly at least 80. So I have to fly double that.
Oh,
Wow.
my gosh.
And I went on vacation in April. I did 40 hours and my paycheck was $500.
Ouch.
I was like, oh my God.
Oh.
It was, people don't understand that. Like, if you don't fly, you don't get paid.
Wow.
So that,
Oh my
was
gosh.
like, come back in May
And
get on that plane, girl. 'Cause
yeah. Okay, so that's interesting though, because to a degree you are able to kind of manage your schedule.
Yes.
You're able to tell them how. So that's kind of cool in a sense.
Yeah.
When you're flying, do you have downtime? It's actually really interesting for people that love to travel to know. Like we get the back seat to know like how travel agents are. Flight attendants are. But do you get downtime when you're on the plane?
So on the plane, no. And that's what I thought, right? Because when I started back up again, COVID was still there. We weren't doing service. It was board the plane, sit there, wait till we get there. So for me, I was always on my computer, doing all my social media content. Now we're back. We're full. We're dealing with a lot of things. So on the plane, no. What I do is I pick up trips that have long layovers.
Cool.
So before, I used to be this jet setter. I'm in New York, 24 hours. Let's go to Central Park. And I'd make my reels.
Oh my gosh.
Now I wake up at 7 in the morning on my layovers, even if my flight is at 8 p.m.
Wow.
And I'm on the computer all day, doing things for my clients. And then by 4 p.m., I start getting ready for my flight, put on my face, and go and fly until 11 p.m.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. That is the
love it.
thick of it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
when
that's
the
straight
side
up.
hustle and the main hustle are like a perfect blend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a rich mixture of ingredients.
Well, I'll tell you something that is exactly what that is in terms of when I was running my wedding video business and also working big production jobs. There was any kind of downtime, I was emailing clients, I was sending a proposal, I was working on my side business. And ultimately, it took me 4 years of that to feel really confident to stop all other work that wasn't my own business. And I didn't do that till 2018. So, but however, at that point, I was very confident. Like I knew that if I quit all this other work and I focused only on my business, enough work was going to come in because I had done the work prior, so it took me 4 years. So you're
almost there.
you're hold on, because it will happen eventually. I mean, it's almost just, it's kind of like a law of physics. I feel like if you really put in the work, you feel passionate about what you're doing, and you also take care of your clients, the work will continue to come to you.
Yeah.
You know, based on referrals, especially because you have a business that can be heavily result of referrals.
And you gave me some great advice when I started, which seemed kind of like duh. And you were like, you don't understand the importance of it, right? He said, answer your emails, right? Right? I now have a client that this is her second time booking with me, and the first time She came to me and said, I want to do 3 days in New York, right? I've been ghosted by 2 travel advisors.
Oh, no.
And she's like, we're emailing, they disappear.
Oh, my gosh.
As soon as I tell them what I want to do, right? She told them, I want to do New York for 3 days. 3 days. And they all were like, New York, you know.
Oh, because it wasn't like a big
high ticket.
Yeah.
Right.
This lady wanted to stay at the Plaza
Oh
in
my
New
gosh.
York.
Yes.
She ended up spending $7,000 on hotel alone
For her 3 days.
For 3 days.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love her. She's my kind of girl. I like her.
And now
I feel like I
she's-
could travel with her.
Exactly. I want to go on her trips. She just called me last week. She's like, I want to do one in Key West. We're gonna stay at another 5-star restaurant, hotel there, and I want to do one in New Orleans, and we want to stay at the Ritz Carlton. And
my
just
gosh.
because you answered me, you were responsive, you were this.
Yeah.
That has been the ticket. Not only that, she's now referred 3 more clients.
Fantastic.
There you go.
And just as simple as answering emails, because that in today's world, I think it separates you from all the others who are not. And people feel and know that they can trust you and rely on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important.
And
Oh
they're
my
not
gosh.
spending, and even if they were spending $10, right? Their money is their money, and they chose to spend it with me.
Yeah.
So I'm very appreciative of that, and I'm very conscious of people's time, because again, another conversation we had when I first started, he was kind of like, "How are you going to brand yourself? What value are you bringing?" And my thing was, I'm saving people time,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
So if I'm saving people time, that means I take their time onto my hands, and I make it worth it. So that, like, you've given me great advice. And a lot of the time I'm just like, I have to respect their time, and I have to make sure that I am making their money's worth, in the sense that they don't have to worry about anything. I have to worry for them.
Yes.
Even the people who are in Portugal right now, I'm like, hey, your tour tomorrow departs from here. And they're like, you are like really like following
Yeah.
us throughout here. I'm
Bless.
like, yeah, I don't want you to be lost. You
my
don't speak
gosh.
the language. You don't know where it is.
Amazing.
Look, something
So
I
good.
realized very early on in starting my own business is that there's not a lot of competition out there. If you think about it, because people show up late. People don't respond on time. A lot of them do. So all you have to do is show up on time
Yeah.
and respond on time. And that alone automatically puts you ahead of a ton of people.
Yes.
And very, very early on, I mean, I get really excited about this stuff, because very, very early on, I realized that there's a lot of people out there that are trying to run a business, and they lack all of these
They're missing the
very
fundamentals.
simple fundamentals to hustling hard. And I think that what's interesting is what's happening now, especially post-pandemic, with like mental health and all this stuff, and take care of yourself. It's important, but guess what? If you're building a business, your mental health takes a back seat. It takes a
I
back
was
seat.
literally going to say that.
Straight up.
I was going to say my mental health is severely lacking lately,
wow.
which is another reality of it.
Yeah.
And that's when there are days when we said peaks and valleys. Today I'm on a peak, but
Yeah.
there are days when I wake up and I want to call American Airlines and say bye.
Yeah.
We're done. Like, there's just days like that. But you're right. If you're gonna put in the work, your mental health will take
Yeah.
a hit.
It's going to take a hit. And I think it's super important to just call it what it is and name it, so that the conversation can be said, because we've talked about a lot. We've talked about this a lot before, where when you're in those valleys, you really feel like you're on your own, and you feel like you're on an island. Like, surely no one else wakes up this way. Like, no one else must feel like they're going to call their job, their lifeline, and say, you know what? I'm done. Fuck you. But reality is, so many people do go through we just have to keep powering through and stay committed. Though our mental health can take a back seat, we have to stay committed to paying attention to it
Yes.
and not letting it completely disappear, because we all know it backfires on us.
Yes.
It could backfire.
Yes.
So as long as we're aware of it and able to converse about it and address it when we get on the days of the peaks, right? That's when you feel like, okay, this is where I can tackle everything.
Yes.
And it creates a little bit of regulation.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like you said, self-awareness is key with these kind of things, because if your mental health is taking a hit because of your business and you're like, I'm fine, or coping however you cope on the weekends, then it's no bueno.
Yeah.
No bueno. But if you know and are aware of it and say, you know what, I'm okay with my mental health
Yeah.
taking a hit for this period of time while I know that I'm building towards something greater and a better quality of life for myself.
Yeah.
And if I can be honest,
Please do.
April.
And you can.
Honest, we love honesty here.
April was a time when I was not coping well, and I came to realize it. I had a TV interview the next day with Inside South Florida, and you know, I'm prepping for my interview. They send me the interview questions. How was I coping? A lot of alcohol, right?
Oh.
We know about that.
Oh my God. I wake up the next day. First of all, I'm about to do a TV interview, right? My face is going to show. I feel like I got hit by a semi truck.
Oopsies.
I see in my house, I see a bag of Doritos. I see a wine bottle. I'm like, what happened?
Background of the interview. is like-
And I'm looking at all my interview questions. There was a lot of exclamation points that I wrote in. I was like, Europe, 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 exclamation point. People were texting me like, are you okay? You put up reels yesterday, like on your business page, and you looked way like
oh
you
my
weren't all
gosh.
there.
Oh.
And that's the day I took a step back and I said,
Oh,
I get
wow.
it. I'm using this to, you know, deal with the stress, but this isn't healthy.
Right.
Wow.
It was scary when people
It's a wake
were
up. Yeah.
texting you like, do you remember you did that?
Oh,
From your business
bless.
page, you were writing to the, and mind you, I was writing nice things to people like, you're so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, and to have to do that interview and you're not all there because you feel so bad. Like, I'm like, I don't want to squander good opportunities
Yeah.
because of something.
Coping.
Because
Yeah.
I don't know how to cope.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being so vulnerable about that, because that's a really real moment, and to have a wake up like that is pretty sobering, literally and figuratively. But to be able to share that, I think, could be very helpful, and it's helpful to me too, because when we are in the peaks and valleys, which is very tumultuous, the coping mechanisms can come very loud, but the wake up calls can also become very loud. So it just becomes such a dynamic time that can be exhausting. But again, to be able to talk about it so frankly is, I feel like I know you even more now. Like I can connect, and he and I, like we've talked, we've had these days and nights before.
Oh yeah.
But it truly is not worth squandering opportunities. You said it to a T. So it's really just about regulating as we move forward. Phone a friend. You know, if you feel like overwhelmed, phone a friend, and just find a little break and a pause through it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you nailed the interview.
They did. Yeah. They said I was very helpful. And I was like, oh, good. I
So
felt-
that interview was after you saw the Doritos bag. And
It
okay.
was, my interview was at 12 and I always wake up early anyway. And I woke up at 8 and I'm just like,
Okay, so you had 4 hours to have your
yes.
sobering wake up call. And then you're
Yes.
like, which maybe made you even hyper alert for your
Yes.
interview. Just
it
saying.
did. And I had to put tons more makeup on.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's those moments are that happens frequently for people in the thick of the side hustle, main hustle.
So, perfect segue back into side hustle, main hustle. Give us an idea of how you manage both. You already mentioned that on your layovers, you work on your business. What does it look like day to day, and especially the moments where maybe how stressful is it to know that you're on a flight and you can't be there for your clients? What's that like?
So that, and this is going to sound weird and maybe not to you guys, but I had to start planning my breaks. I have a very, very dedicated work ethic. I don't stop working. I can easily stay up till 4 a.m. and be up at 7 and keep working. And then I realized one day that I hit a wall because I wasn't really mentally there. You're tired, right? You're just mentally exhausted. So when I feel like the most important thing between a side hustle and a main hustle and having both is rest. This Memorial Day weekend, apart from all the cancellations and all that, I didn't plan any trips. I didn't do any social media. I did nothing.
Nice.
Wow.
And my mind needed it because yesterday, Tuesday, when I came back, it was crazy. At 8 a.m, I was boop, boop, boop. And I was actually getting things done instead of opening the computer and staring and being like, what am I doing?
Yeah, where do I start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that to me is, besides scheduling your work, is scheduling your breaks because your mind can only take so much. Physically, you can do a lot of things, run here and that. But when you're doing your side hustle, or, you know, in this case, American Airlines is my side hustle, but I give it the importance that I give it. And once it's, you know, I know what I'm doing and I go home, I have my work time organized and I say I'm by 7, I'm done.
Wow.
Because another thing is, I don't know about you guys, but my clients, if they will text me at 11 p.m. if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
And at the beginning, I was answering.
Yeah.
And now what? At midnight, 2 a.m., they're calling, they're
Yeah,
texting, right? So when are you really resting? So once I set that limit, somebody called me the other day, oh, I want to do a consultation right now. And I said, thank you for calling. It's 6 p.m.
Yeah.
I am closed. I can schedule it for tomorrow, but I want it right now.
Wow.
And for me, I was so eager to get new clients at first, but now it's like, if they're not going to respect my time and a consultation, imagine when they're on a trip.
Exactly.
Boundary setting is so
Exactly.
crucial.
And I just want to jump in real quick and say something too, because I definitely don't want to come off as like this like toxic, like hustler mentality that you see a lot on Instagram and on social media, by saying that sometimes your mental health does have to take a back seat. It's true, because you are super focused on your business and you forget about yourself a little bit, but it's important to remind yourself, like what happened to you before that interview, that hold on, I need to take some time, and also creating boundaries. There's definitely a period of time at the beginning of your small business where you just need to be after every single client possible. But once you realize that you do have a steady flow of clientele, you can turn people down who are being disrespectful of your boundaries. And I've had the same thing happen to me, where I have a client texting me, calling me at 8 p.m., on a weekend or something. And I'm like, no, you have to wait until Monday morning. That's it. Because then if not, like you said, then that's going to be their expectation. So if they know that you'll respond at that moment, then they'll think that you're going to respond at any moment in the future, and that's what you don't want.
Well, and I think that the flip side of that is also what we've talked about before, where when you release that kind of client, it just creates space for the more healthy and positive and
Ding, 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 ding. I think that's a pro tip. That's a pro tip.
There was like 16 pro tips in your whole in that whole last monologue. I know
we forgot. We didn't get like clappers and like.
We're speaking to travel extraordinaire. We need to just get like sound makers from every country, just every show. Like
every culture has a different side.
Well, speaking of other countries, I went to Germany, and we don't realize, right? We're Americans. I went to Germany. I was angry. It was 8 p.m. and there was not a store open in sight. And I was so mad. And my friend lives in Frankfurt, and I said, what is up with you guys? And he goes, we have work-life balance.
Okay, Germany.
And
see you.
That's how they see it. And when he put it that way, I respected it, right? Because here in the United States, we're our Target open till 11.
Yeah.
But think about the people working at Target, right?
Yeah.
They might have side hustles as well.
Yeah.
They might have a family. They might have all of this. And so that I use it a lot in my everyday life, because I'm like, I love how in other countries, when I visit, when you go to Spain, they have a 2-hour siesta.
Solid. Like you can't get a coffee or a glass of wine. Like
I need my lunch and I need my nap after my lunch.
Yes.
And now they have 4-day work weeks.
Really?
Yes.
I'm moving.
Yes. I'm not even kidding, guys. I'm one step away from either Portugal or Spain, and see me there.
Yes.
Because
that's so good.
It is nice to be hustle and all that, but we're after this mentality of more money, and instead of more money, more quality clients.
Yeah.
More people who yesterday I sent a ticket to somebody, and she says, wait, this isn't the time we discussed. And I said, you're right. And I went back and I talked to the company, and we couldn't get it changed. And she said, you know what? We'll make it work.
Oh.
My heart was pounding, right?
Because
she thought she was going to the Eiffel Tower at night, and now she's going at 11 a.m.
Because she could have blown up.
She
could have blown up.
But she was actually one of the clients that I got rejected from another client who was being very rude with my time. And she was one of the ones that came in. Oh, and I told her,
that?
And I set that boundary from the beginning. She said, perfect. This is when I first was starting to charge planning fees, because that's another thing. You're scared of your value. How much do I charge? Is it too much? And then when I told her my new higher fee, she said, perfect. I'll pay it.
Gosh, it's so good how that works, and it's so good to hear those stories and just remember that it's real, and this is the way. It's science.
Yeah, and this is right. This is another law of physics. Like you said, across the board in any business, when you turn down a particular type of client that is not being respectful of you and really of your value, then you are creating room for the type of client that you do want to come in. And this is in any business. I've experienced this.
Oh,
You've
yes.
experienced this, and now you've experienced it. So this is a pro tip
Pro tip
for
moment.
anybody that is running a business, has a side hustle. Really, just make sure that you know your own worth and stand up for it.
Yeah,
you know?
stand up for yourself. There's nobody else that's going to stand up for you in your own business. So you got to do it, and it'll return. Like the blessing will return to you. Wow.
I'm at the point where, Sten, I told Amanda earlier, I said a timeline for myself. I will be gone from American Airlines by November.
Ooh.
And I said it. And now I'm like, oh my God.
Well, now you said it on a podcast too.
It's
God knows how many people.
Yeah.
But you think about the turns of your job, right? Right now in the summer, I'm so positive. I have so much business, but do people really travel after summer? So it's kind of like a stay tuned kind of thing, because I am in the middle of it where maybe in November I'm not making that many clients, or don't have so many trips, and I have to fly more time to make up for that. So the reality is, as much as I want this to be my 100%, I do foresee it being a side like joint thing, at least for another year.
Yeah. Don't put so much. Again, it's like going back to all of this stuff that you hear on social media. It's like set times and dates and like, law of attraction, all this stuff. But also like if you don't make your timeline, just whatever, because you're going to know when you're ready, and when you're ready, you're ready. If you force yourself to be ready at a certain point and you're not, then that's just going to create a lot of stress in your life. And you don't need that. I mean, again, it took me 4 years of like co-running a wedding video business and taking these jobs for other productions. Same industry, and actually what you're doing, really, you're in the same industry, except you are taking jobs for a different company while you're working on your own company. I was doing the same thing, and it took 4 years for me to feel confident to turn it completely down, and I was able to fully live my life, pay my bills exactly how they were by only running my business. So
I see that for you, and I see having an assistant, so you can go back to traveling and enjoying your time where you're not hunkered down in your hotel room on email. I see that for you, and that's a dream job, by the way, for anyone to be like an assistant to what you do. That's a phenomenal job.
I've already had 3 people ask me, and I thought they were joking, and they were like, no, I'm serious. And the other day, one of them, I was talking to her, and I said, and I can't seem to find, what was it, a boat on Key West. And 2 seconds later, she's like, try this company. And I was like, oh my. And in my head, I'm like, seriously, when I have the income for that, she's going to be one of the first people I call, because I could tell she cares, and I can tell that she's good. Yeah. Because I'm sure you guys know, it takes so much. You're like, you want to control everything, and I want you to do it exactly as I would.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing is take care of my clients the way I would.
Yeah.
Have your own research methods, whatever.
Yes. But oh my God, I love that. Yeah, she showed initiative.
She did.
Which, as we said, that speaks volumes to people in professional fields these days.
So you were saying, when you're on the plane, like, what do you do? How do you feel? I think, and another travel advisor gave me this advice. She said, I have what I call a travel buddy. Whenever I'm away on these trips, because, she travels a lot too. She said, I know I can count on them. Print this out, mail it to this address. Nice. We're good. Wow, she's like, I trust them. I pay them for everything. It's kind of like an independent contractor. And so, and that's another thing, man. When you're doing your own business, you think, I'm in this alone.
Yeah. Right.
I'm here. And you don't realize how many people want to help you.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, you want to do that video? Let me record this. And it's use your resources, because like some people are in this situation and they want to help you. Yeah. So once I started like letting people in, randomly some guy who makes shirts made me a shirt with my logo. I'm so sorry. And I said, thank you so much. And he goes, I just loved your logo. I thought it would look really cute on a black shirt. Boop.
Oh my God, love him.
So that. Other entrepreneurs, because at the end of the day, when I go to order shirts, 100% I'm going to go to him.
Yep.
But he did it out of his own. I got home one day and it was like, they delivered it to my house.
Oh my gosh.
I was like,
yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. But that also speaks volumes to the kind of person that you are and the energy that you put out. That's that goodness coming back to you.
I think that it's really exciting right now. This is a very exciting time. Although it may seem overwhelming to be running both, but if you think about it, the what follows is it's really amazing. Like you've already alluded to and mentioned that people will want to help you. Eventually, you will have to build a team. And that's when things get really fun, because then you're going to see how much more time you have to either work on the business, develop the brand further, and really dial in what it is that you're doing, the service that you're providing, and the culture that you're building within your company. And for me, that was like a huge moment when I was building the wedding video company, because I needed a video editor, and that's the job that I needed the most. And I remember for such a long time that I was avoiding that because I felt like my editing style was the most unique. And it's like, the only way that the only way that people liked my work, the Love Squared work, is because of the editing. And I'm like, nobody else can do this, until I actually sat there and I trained somebody else to do it. And they weren't exactly like me. And I was like, this is not, I was being super nitpicky about it. But I released some creative control. I allowed them to send it to the client. The client loved it. And that's it. And I've mentioned this many times in the past, because for me, that was like the oh shit moment of like, oh my God, this can work with somebody else doing this. And it got to the point, like, imagine, like, and I know that this might even give you some anxiety. Just imagine in the future that you'll have a client come in that you don't even touch, that maybe you talk to, but the rest of it is done by a team member.
I'm telling you, it does cause me anxiety.
It's terrible. It could be terrifying for sure.
It on another girl that she is like, I like having idols. I like having somebody to look up to, because I'm like, wow, and my story may not be the same as yours, but I love what you're doing. She has that. She has a travel agency in Tampa. And she the other day said, I love my assistant. She took care of this client while I was in Croatia. And I was like, oh my God, how does that work? I would need to know what is happening every second. But I said, wow, that's amazing that she can go do her trip in Croatia and know that
trusted.
Somebody is taking care of her client. And the client sent a message that let her know her assistant did a good job.
Yeah.
She said, your assistant did such an amazing job, and our trip is better because of it.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's so good.
It's totally possible, and it's something that takes time for sure, because you also need to be confident about what you're providing to your clients, and then you will pass that confidence on to somebody that you find that works, because granted, you'll find some people that don't work out. I mean, it's just part of the process. I found editors, I mean, I could tell you like horror stories about some editors that I spent time training and like just didn't work out, and all of that. But then, of course, I found editors that worked out, and they were fantastic, and they were great with the clients, and the clients loved them. So it just, it's a trial and error thing. Yeah. But that's all part of building a business. And that's also kind of like a question that a lot of kind of small business owners will have to answer at some point, which is like, how much longer do you want to stay in your own business, being the only person that's wearing all the hats, doing all the work, answering all the calls, answering all the emails? Or at what point will you release some of that control and spend the time that it takes to find somebody that's going to work with you and that's great, and allow them to do their thing? And help you build your business, because there's some people that they'll be running their business for decades.
Oh my gosh.
And they will never allow somebody else to come in and do something else.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's my father, which is another like figure I look up to. But I mean, he's nearing retirement age, and he will not let go of that control.
Oh, wow.
And in my head, I'm like, you can't even properly retire, because you're always going to be like, are they doing this? Are they doing this? And somebody offered to buy out his company for I don't know how much. He said no. Oh. Like, sir, you are almost...
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Hello. I mean, he's almost 60, so...
Wow, he's young.
Yeah. In my head, I'm like, you still have a few years to go, but I would be giving it some serious thought at this point.
Yeah. And I think sometimes the inability to give up creative control can sometimes turn into pride, which we have to be very careful with. Like, if we can stay ahead of that, and even if we can give out a little bit of jobs, like as a contractor, and not necessarily say I'm going to bring somebody on salary, and just kind of play around with it for a little bit. I think that can help us be humble about our businesses too. I want to go back a little bit, because there was a pro tip Yes.
Put it in reverse. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at sound effects.
Well,
Sorry,
you can actually put the video in reverse when you edit.
Oh.
Yeah. No, you said that you love having icons, I think is what you said. And I call them expanders. People that well, my therapist calls it an expander. I just adopted the term. But it's people that are ahead of you that kind of are living or have lived out something similar to your story, but is giving you really like a really wonderful taste of what you could have. Yep. So I think that's a huge pro tip. Like in both work and life.
Pro tips.
Yes.
All over the place here.
This is a good one. And your dad is even showing you that too.
He is. And when I have questions, even though his industry has nothing to do with mine, I call him and I say, hey, I kind of have a bad feeling about this. And he's like, nope.
Good.
Like there was one guy that was like, let's book this. Just give me your credit card and the client will pay you later. And I was like, and I was like, no. And he's like, I prefer if you pay through Venmo. And I was like, no. And I call my dad and he was like, red flags.
Red flags.
So,
so good. Good to
I
have
do
that.
love that. And at the same time, I love helping people who maybe not even be in my industry, but that I can help them, because you have so many tendencies to fall into negative thoughts. And the first thing I felt when I started my business was imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
Who am I? I can't be a business owner. My God, no,
Right.
So getting people through that, like I've already had people reach out about things that aren't even, but they're like, I'm starting my own business too. And what do you suggest? And I love helping them because there's nothing worse. You are your own worst critic, right? There's nothing worse than thinking that. And I always tell them their positive traits. You're so helpful. You're so this. You're so that. You have what it takes, right? And to me, the number one thing is, if you're going to do a side hustle and a main hustle, is you have to have work ethic, right? I may not have had a newsletter for months, but it's not because I'm not working, and I have to be easy on myself for that, because I used to be so hard on myself.
Yes.
Right.
You didn't do your newsletter.
That's
Oh
me.
my.
Yeah.
But then you're putting out crappy newsletters. What's the point?
Yeah.
I'd rather give you a good newsletter, but have that work ethic to know that if I'm not doing it, when am I going to do it? And why haven't I done it?
Yes.
And it's okay if I didn't do it, because look at the result. Somebody had an amazing trip and you were a part of that, right? So that's my mental health. It took a while to get squared off on that, but I had to be easy on myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
More
a
than
lot of
anybody
grace giving.
else. Nobody else was there criticizing me. I said to my mom the other day, I just feel lazy. And she goes, excuse me? Like, don't ever say that about yourself, because you're not lazy. You're just tired.
Wow.
So
Giving yourself the permission to rest.
yes.
Yeah, that's crucial.
Yeah, I've said this before, like, and something that I kind of realized through my own experience is that running a small business or your own business is personal development, because you're putting yourself in situations where you have to make decisions about yourself and how you reacted to things. And ultimately, most people who are just going into any job that maybe they don't really like or are just doing to pay the bills, they don't really get put into situations where they have to test themselves. And also, if they do, they're just kind of like brushing it off to the side because they're doing it for something that they don't care about. When you're doing something that you really care about, then you end up having to really look at yourself and how you react to things. So I think that's why it's just so rewarding, despite all of the pitfalls of having a small business that many other people might point out. But ultimately, you don't know the joys and the reward until you're like in the thick of it.
He hit the nail on the head. I said that the other day. I said, this has been the most rewarding year of my life. I just turned 34 and I've never felt younger, because I'm like, I feel like everything that I was ever insecure about is out the door. Nobody can come and tell me I'm not hardworking. Nobody can come and take away what I gave to those people who were on their trips. Like somebody said, he was crying. He said, this was the best trip I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
And that can never be replaced. Nobody can ever take that away from me. My mom said when I was little, nobody can ever take education away from me. That's the only thing in life they can't. And that's what my business has given me. It's educated me on who I am as a person. And you're right. When I was new to this, I would take things very personally. And then a year later, I realized it's insecurities that a year later, nobody can put that mirror in front of me, and I can hold my head high and say, that's right, I did that, but I'm proud of what I did.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
Love that.
I am super fascinated in what you do. And so I'm sure you get this question all the time, but what's your favorite place you've ever visited?
There's two. And every time I go somewhere new, I'm like, oh my God. But Croatia, I think, was the time of my life. I was just turning 30. I did an Eat, Pray, Love solo trip. Oh, and it was my first solo trip ever. So Croatia, but then also New Zealand is stupid. Like those mountains. You're there, and I could hear Ed Sheeran in the back.
Oh my God, I love that.
Lord of the Rings. And, I was hiking in New Zealand, and I cried.
Oh,
Like a
like spiritual moment.
Yes.
Wait, like while you're hiking,
I hiked to the top of the mountain.
Yeah,
It was
the
hard.
teardrops mix with the dirt, with the soil. I've been there. It's a
And you
beautiful
just
moment.
put it
like one with earth.
No,
You haven't
but
cried on the mountain?
not on a hike.
Oof.
well, I got to the top, and I said, I can't believe I get to live this and see this in my lifetime.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm very connected to nature kind of thing. So when I saw that, I was like, wow, this place is incredible.
Wow.
And the people are just super nice.
So I love that, because also that means that you've reached that level of experience and emotion while traveling, and that's why you connect so much with your clients, because you know what that feeling feels like and you want them to achieve it.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so cute.
It was hard for me at first when people would come. They're like, I want to go to Mykonos, and I want to go to like the dance parties, and and I'm like,
Are you sure?
You sure?
You're like, I snuck a little hike in for you.
I did that. I'm like, you don't want to do the hike? She's like, no, we're gonna be up partying until like 7 a.m. And I was like, okay, it's hard for me.
Yeah.
But you're right. I do connect with them, because I say, well, what gives me joy is this.
Yeah.
But they want to go.
And
see this.
speaking about what we were earlier, just knowing that perhaps you're going to give her a good experience because she wants to party right now, but in 5 years when she's settling down and wants to connect with nature again, 'cause she partied her face off for 15 years, she's going to come back to you.
Exactly. And I have. And that to me was the craziest thing when I started getting repeat clients.
Oof.
I've already had one client who's done 3 trips with me.
Wow, amazing.
And she keeps coming back, and now I'm like, okay, well, let's do it all over again.
Oh my gosh.
That's the great thing about that business. And something that I experienced was not so great about my business is that when you get married, hopefully you're getting married once, and there's not a lot of repeat business.
Yes, that's true.
But there is a lot of referrals.
Yes.
So, I mean, and I've been so fortunate, and also just kind of like made me feel so much gratitude that I've done the weddings of like several siblings. Like there's
so
one
cute.
family that I did. There's in that family, there's 3 sisters. I did all 3 of their weddings. Yeah, and in the last one, we all took a photo together. So it was me and them. And it was literally throughout the course of that like 7 years, because like the oldest one got married, and like the middle one got married, and then like the youngest one got
The
married.
dad's like winking at you because he knows how much he's paid you for his daughters. He's like, you owe me a drink or like something.
Yeah, it's really special, especially to have clients return like that, because you really, you really build a friendship, and it's really special.
Yes. And that's to the point that I've built such a friendship with her that now I'm helping her become a flight attendant.
Oh
my God.
You see that? Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing? Things just like tumbleweed, don't
I'm
they?
here
Over
giving
the
her
years?
tips. I'm like, do this, do this, do this.
Super
And
cool.
she's so excited. And she's like, and I'm still going to plan my trips with you, because I can maybe fly free with
Yeah.
them, but you're going to plan everything else.
Amazing. So how do you work? What is it like to work with you?
So what I do is I always do a consultation. And, I heard recently travel advisors, some of them charge for their consultations, which I think is crazy, because I just want to let you know how I can help you.
Yeah.
There are people that during our consultation, they say, I want this, this, and this. And I say, I may not be the right person for you, right? And I had to learn that too. Because at the beginning, I wanted to do all of this. And I want to do all the all-inclusives. But that's not my business. My business is customized itineraries off the beaten path, right? So they come, I do a 30-minute consultation on the phone with them. I write down everything, and then I say, okay, this is going to be my planning fee, because at first I was afraid of charging a planning fee, but I put literally 3 weeks into every single trip that I plan.
Wow.
It takes time, right?
Yes.
So my time is valuable, and I've noticed that more. I tell them, hey, this is going to be my planning fee, okay? And once we do that, I take 3 weeks and I build them a completely customized itinerary. Amazing. You can go on these like Expedia, whatever websites, and build a trip, and they'll they'll put you on connecting flights with 30 minutes between each flight.
Oh.
They don't know the industry.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they do
yeah.
know the industry, but they don't care about
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
You missed your flight. You missed your flight. Call Expedia. Be on hold for 4 hours.
Oh my
Right.
gosh.
You missed your flight. Call me. I answer right away. That's my value to these people. And I
Yeah.
tell them, I've been a flight attendant for 10 years. I know which airlines you should take. I know which routes are best, which airports are least stressful.
Wow. It's
You don't want to have 30 minutes in Atlanta. Trust me. The airport is one of the biggest in the world. People don't know these
You
things.
walk like 4 miles to
Yeah.
get or something. What is it? There's
It's-
something crazy. You walk
It's
like
insane. And one time I had to take a train and this, and I'm like, why do I feel like I'm in another city at this point? Like, and then once I build on their trip, then I say, okay, we're gonna go booking, and I book it piece by piece by
oh my
piece.
gosh.
And then, and I'm trying to be, environmentally friendly. I do print out itineraries, and I send it to their house as like a little with a little gift inside.
I love that.
But now, when I just printed my last one, it was 160 pages because
Aye.
she's going for almost 2 months.
Wow.
So
You planned the whole 2-month trip?
2 months.
Girl, that's
Wow.
amazing. Where's she going?
She's going to Paris, Amsterdam, Zurich, Florence, Rome, the Amalfi Coast. She's going to the Greek islands. She's going everywhere.
We love her. We love her.
We need to
Yes.
have her on the show after that trip.
If she sees this podcast,
Or we'll meet her in Greece
Yeah.
and record in there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she's leaving in a week, and I'm just gonna be like the whole trip.
Yeah, like watching. Oh my gosh.
So once they get that little care package, they know, and they say it makes it feel so real. I'm like, yep,
Oh,
you're on
God.
your way.
And that's a neat feeling too. I know, yes, environmentally, savvy, of course, but there's something about traveling with all your documents. You've got all your things. I still do it.
Yeah.
I've got everything on my phone, but
I'm
I'm like, but I got to print out of my passport.
And I say, I'm like, maybe I'm
Feels
an older
official.
millennial or something, but I do provide them with an app that they
Mm-hmm.
can do everything. So like my younger clients love that.
Oh my gosh.
But for
so
me,
good.
the's nothing like, oh, here's my ticket printed. Here you go.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep.
So good. I want to plan trips with you.
Yes.
And
do
this
it.
one here needs to plan.
Yeah, I gotta go somewhere for sure. I
Well,
mean,
he's got a big-
even though I spent like all of December traveling.
Yeah.
But this one's a big birthday one. I'm talking about the big birthday one.
Yeah.
And mine too next year. Big birthday's coming.
There you
Really?
go.
Yeah.
What is it? What's your big birthday?
40.
Oh my God. Yes. My boyfriend's 40th birthday is coming up next year. And I'm like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Where are
Where
you going to
gonna
go?
go?
And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, all right.
Well, he should be like, you tell me.
Yeah, you
where,
tell me.
where am I gonna go?
No.
What are we gonna do?
And he'll plan something like Bali, and I'm there for it. I'm like,
Oh,
yes, let's
good.
do it. Bali, yeah.
Amazing. One little rapid fire question is, what's one place you want to go that you haven't been?
Well, and this is a place, but it's a continent, Africa. I put that on my webpage, on my social media the other day, and I said, I can't believe I have not been to the continent of Africa. Take me to Morocco, Egypt, South Africa. I don't care. But honestly, like my dream country is South Africa.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's got
Been there.
Yeah,
got some in his pocket.
I heard when
Yeah.
when he did like a presentation one time, he
Uh-huh.
was like,
Yeah.
and I went to South Africa and I got paid for a job down there, and I was like, oh,
Yes.
that
Dream
was-
job.
That was
Thanks,
really,
Malika.
really incredible. And actually, that's a good segue into what you've already been doing. And what I always suggest anybody that's starting a business is to make sure to create a niche for yourself or understand what type of work within that industry you want. And that job that I got hired to do, I got hired to fly to South Africa to film an African safari for a travel agency. And their niche is luxury adventure travel to Egypt, to safaris, like these kinds of trips. And that's all they do. And the reason why they hired me is because this is the first time that they also chartered a Boeing 757 or one of these massive planes to go directly to South Africa. So there wasn't any connection
From where?
or anything
From here.
from
Opalaka.
no. It was by Tampa. There's another little city by Tampa.
Sarasota?
Sarasota. Yes,
Oh,
from
wow.
Sarasota. So we went from Sarasota straight into South
That's
Africa.
With
Money.
but yeah, butlers on the plane and
Yeah.
everything.
It was
Excuse
amazing.
me.
It was amazing. It was the best
Can you
thing
call
ever.
them up again?
It was the best thing. I think I had like a lobster.
I was gonna say
but
that's definitely a lobster and champagne situation.
It was the
definitely.
best thing ever.
Maybe
and the only thing
caviar.
is that when we did get there, then we had to take like a little Cessna straight into
course.
Sangita, which is the resort that we were
Yeah.
staying in. But I mean, forget it. It was the best thing ever. But that travel agency, created this niche for themselves of doing these like luxury trips. And so for me, if had I gone as a client of theirs for book this trip, I would have paid like $30,000.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I've seen how much safaris can cost, and safaris are expensive, but luxury safaris, oh my.
Yeah. Which,
Worth it.
by the way,
Yeah.
if you've never even thought about going on a safari or South Africa, you better start thinking about it because it is the most incredible experience. I mean, to be there as the sun is rising, watching a pride of lions wake up and do like lion things.
And the dust is like I can see the safari
amazing.
dust like lift.
It's amazing.
Did
like
you hear the Lion King soundtrack in the
Oh
back?
my God, yes.
He was out on his
yes.
patio singing it.
It
I'm
was
sure
so
calling them in.
incredible. I mean, it's just
Oh.
something. Yeah, it's something that everybody should experience. Really, just being out there and just experiencing those animals because they're not in captivity either.
Yeah.
This is a reserve that is protected, but they're free to come and go as they please. And actually, they don't even take care of them. They don't feed them. They're just like naturally in the wild.
You're in their habitat.
And it is the whole list of them. It's zebras, it's giraffes, it's hippopotamus. I mean, all of these
the whole
crazy
gang.
animals.
The whole-
Do you want to know a fun
It's
fact?
amazing.
Would love.
Hippopotamus are responsible for the most deaths in Africa every year. They're angry creatures.
But they're so cute.
We think they're adorable.
Chew or
they're
they
vicious.
scratch?
First of all, yeah, their jaws have like this crazy pressure. Thank you, Animal Planet.
There you go.
When I found that out, I was like, what? They're angry. Like when they start
Hungry, hungry
wiggling their
hippos.
ears, that's when you're like, uh-oh.
But that's when they look the cutest. They're like,
Yeah.
Fun fact. See, it's an educational show because stay away from hippopotamus.
hippopotami
Yeah,
when they're
a
plural.
cluster of them when they're in a gang. You definitely want to stay away from them. So this has been incredible.
Yeah.
We're gonna start to wrap it up.
I think we need to have you back for like an anniversary edition next year. And I think we're going to
Definitely.
need updates because I love the season that you're in and I'm super intrigued. And I think you're playing your cards perfectly well.
Yeah.
I think you're taking advantage of every opportunity that you have. You are aware of the tax that it's having on you mentally, perhaps, in terms of getting proper rest and all that. But in taking and knowing and having the awareness around that, you have the responsibility to, correct it, which you've already taken the call to. So super excited to see where this goes. And if you get to Africa before the next year.
God, I hope so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like Amanda said, that you're in this season where you get to make these shifts and you're really just testing the waters constantly. And I think that that's also what's really fun about starting a business, which is just figuring out how much you should charge clients and what kind of work that you want to do within that industry. And it's just super fun because you have the opportunity to figure it out and dial in your process. So it's super, super fun. And for sure, we're excited to have you back in like a year to see where you're at.
I'll say,
Yeah.
American Airlines is a thing of the past.
Yes. Yeah, I believe it.
Thank you, guys.
thank
Thank you
you.
for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
You're
Thank
very,
you.
very welcome.
Where can we find you?
Yes.
Oh, yes. So on all social media, and I know TikTok is like my bane of my existence.
Yes.
I am a millennial, but I can't do TikTok for the life of me. But I am also on TikTok at Adventuresque TB for Travel Boutique. So that's my handle.
Perfect.
Cool. And we'll put a link in the description. Oh, and now we get to do our thing.
Yeah.
Oh, subscribe.
Click here to follow,
yeah.
like.
No, wait. It should be up here though, because then it's gonna right.
So subscribe is up, comment is down,
Comment down here.
and like is like
and then
it.
like. and then like
Sprinkle it with your love. We're not sure. We're learning.
And we also want to give a major
Yes.
shout out to our sponsor, HGAB Studios, which is this
La Casa
wonderful
de Jour.
place. Oh, look, I could see myself. I didn't even realize that was a thing. Could have been looking at myself the whole
Oh,
time.
you see that?
See, because their studio is so cool, you got a monitor seeing all the angles.
Yes.
But really amazing place for creators. They have this amazing podcast studio. They have studios for photo and video. They have editing bays. They
Yeah.
have co-working. I mean, it's
And
just
amazing people that work here. Like the
Amazing.
cream of the crop.
amazing
Yes.
people. So major shout out to HGAB Studios. We will also put a link to their website in the comments and in the description so that you can connect with them, so that you can create your own content and just spread your talents and your gifts.
Yes.
So that's our show for today. And I want to just remind you, I got to remind you because it's very, very important.
I'm settling in. I'm settling in. I'm ready. I always need a little extra.
I just want to remind you that the days turn into weeks, the weeks turn into months, the months turn into years, and then before you know it, decades have passed and you have not been able to bring out your talents, your gifts, your passion into the world because you just felt that it wasn't the right time. You filled yourself up with imposter syndrome and all of these things that restrict you from becoming the best version of yourself. And ultimately, that doesn't mean you need to start your own business, but that means that if you feel passionate about anything, if it's dance, if it's cooking, if it's doing hair, just do it. Just do it to do it, not to start a business and to make all this money, but because it really makes you feel alive. And I think that what happens as we grow older, we just settle into a pattern and we forget that we live in a world that gives us so many opportunities to do whatever it is that we want. Really, like you can go to any class, and especially nowadays with YouTube, there's so much free stuff on YouTube, how to learn how to dance, how to cook, how to do all of these amazing things. So really, I encourage you, we encourage you to take the time to make the time and pursue some passion, whatever it is, because it will fill you with life. And ultimately, the best thing that comes out of it is that it will inspire somebody else to do the same. And that's what we have for you today. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Yes.
Boom, we out.